welcome to another episode of Tactical Tuesday. Today, John and I are going to be going through the process of creating a framework for bluff catching using Equilab. So that's going to be the point of emphasis in today's show. And before we dive in to the hands as well as the bluff catching framework, wanted to take a second to mention that CPG right now for the next couple of weeks is going to be doing a giveaway with about $50,000 in prizes. Even if you've been a member of the village and have bought everything that CPG has ever made, I know there are a bunch of you out there. I would still suggest joining the giveaway and participating in the giveaway, because one of the grand prizes is going to be a weekend workshop with me for 10 people. And if you own everything already, you'll get an automatic pass into the weekend workshop. And that's something that, you can't buy on the public market. I've never sold anything like it before. And so, yeah, just wanted to create something special in there for all the folks that have supported Chasing Poker Greatness throughout the years, as well as, have a bunch of prizes for folks that maybe a little bit newer to Chasing Poker Greatness. So with that said, the giveaway going until the end of January. Hop on there, do all the things, win the workshop, and probably goes without mention, and there's going to be an ad in the middle of today's show. But yeah, this is probably the last giveaway that CPG ever does. I've always been a strong believer in the value of courses, the value of coaching material, just the values in executing, going through it, doing the work. And a lot of times when you get something for free, I think you don't end up doing the work that you otherwise would have had you invested your financial resources into the thing. So, be sure, if you win a prize, do the work. That's what is ultimately most valuable and most important. So with that little spiel out of the way, Mr. John, how you doing, sir? Welcome to the show.
Ready to start doing the work right
Ready
here.
to start doing the work? You're
some hand.
Yeah, for those of you listening on the podcast, you couldn't see John just nodding along there. He's really good at nodding. I think he's world class. Some would say world class.
It's a big part of being a good podcast guest. I heard.
You're the hype man. All those nods. Well, tell me, you put together today's theme. So tell me what you envision this episode looking like, and then we can dive in.
Yeah, so like you alluded to, we're going to be using a equity calculator called Equilab. We've pulled this out a handful of times in across old Tactical Tuesday episodes, but it's been a while, so it's probably good to bring it back. And both of these hands, we're going to be I'm going to be in a spot where I'm facing a bluff catching decision on the river, and I'm just going to walk through how I think about bluff catching and sort of how I use Equilab to double check my thought process after I've played the hand.
Very nice. So we're going to make use of this $4 a month subscription to Power Equilab that we got going on. I like it. So, all right, let's start with the first hand. You want to break down the action if you feel like you can handle it today?
So black aces, this is going to be a pure open for me from every position, but definitely middle position. So I make it $30. We're playing 6 max cash, 5-10. We're at a full table. Fold around to the big blind. He has me covered. We start at exactly 100 big blinds effective. He defends the big blind, so we got $65 in the pot going to the flop. 10-6 deuce rainbow. Not very many bad flops for aces, but this seems like a pretty good one, or an especially good one. The big blind starts out with check. That's pretty expected. I think we have a decision here as to c-bet size, maybe even whether to c-bet at all. Don't think it would be absolutely crazy to check back aces on the flop. I decide to go for a large c-bet, I assume. Something bigger than half.
Yeah, I think you could go multiple ways, right? Like you could even overbet this flop. I think overbet is reasonable. I think betting small, like a third, is reasonable. Looks like you went the half route, so in between a third and well, in between a
Yeah, you
third,
can do
third
whatever you
and
want. Is that
75. Yeah, I mean, you can do pretty much whatever you want.
small, medium, big, really big? Check.
Right. You get check raised, which should be a fairly low frequency event, I would think. Tell
Mhm.
me about villain check raise. So John bet 30 into 65, villain check raise to 103.
Um, little. I think the check raise frequency, like you said, is going to be lower once I pick half pot relative to had I picked a third. I think then getting check raised at a higher frequency would be much more expected. I think once I pick a larger size and get check raised, the check raising region is going to be much more equity driven than it would have been if I'd picked the small size and gotten check raised. So I think it's just going to be a lot of the front door gut shots. Maybe it's just like all gut shots with backdoor flush draws, which is going to eliminate, one combo from each of the possible gut shots. I think the value region is, the easy hands to think of in the value region are hands like pocket sixes, pocket deuces, maybe a 10-6 suited if that defends facing a 3x from early position. That's a little
Doubt
bit
it.
loose from the big blind. Yeah.
Yeah, a little
Um,
sketchy.
think pocket tens, mostly three bets facing an MP open
Could
from the
flat
big
though.
blind.
Could
Also
flat.
questionable though. So yeah, maybe we give him, a couple combinations of pocket tens, maybe, half of the combinations of pocket tens or something like that, so that
Sure.
we can account for some of the times that they three bet. And then the bluffing region, I think, is going to be a lot of 9-7 suited, 7-8 suited, 4-5 suited, 3-4 suited. Yeah, just all
It,
those gut shots. And maybe he needs a backdoor flush draw, maybe he doesn't. Who
yeah,
knows?
it's a good thing that the board is rainbow, and the board being rainbow is pretty important here just because it gives villains a lot more backdoor flush draws in which to raise with, right? So 7-8 of spades, 4-5 of clubs, 8-9 of diamonds, like just the suited connector region of their range, the suited one gapper region of their range generally is going to come with a backdoor flush draw unless they have heart. So,
Mhm.
just they have a lot of front door gut shots with probably some sort of backdoor property to go along with them. I would imagine that's the primary makeup of their check raise range here.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. If they're going like really, really deep into their bag for a check raise range, maybe something like, Jack nine of diamonds. Like that's a hand that I would expect to check raise much more frequently facing a third, and
Yeah,
maybe not check raise facing the larger
queen
sizes.
jack of diamonds, queen jack of spades, like some sort of three straight with a backdoor flush draw.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And we give him credit for value. I one of the hands that I didn't mention was maybe a hand like ace 10, ace 10 offsuit that doesn't three bet pre-flop. That might be like the lowest they go down facing a big
Sure.
the lowest they go down into their check raise range facing a big flop C bet. But anyways, we get check raise here. So we're already sort of in a bluff catching mindset with aces on 10-6 deuce rainbow. We obviously call, not gonna fold yet. Queen of diamonds on the turn.
So the board is queen 10 6 deuce with the queen 10 of diamonds. And
Don't expect this card to interact with their check raise range at all.
I mean, it interacts with their check raise range, just like 7-8 of or 8-9 of diamonds, right? Like
Yeah, turning extra
turning
equity.
some sort of like combo draw, Jack 9 of diamonds we mentioned. So
Mhm.
like that could turn a combo draw. So it's actually kind of interesting though, because I so the villain bet pot now. So villain ace 10 is no longer in villain's range. They're properly polarizing here with a pot size bet, setting up an SBR of under one on the river. One thing about this pot size bet on the turn, I wonder if the combo draws do bet pot on the turn. Simply because it opens up jam as a very realistic possibility with your overpairs, and getting jammed on with like the 8-9 of diamonds. I guess the 8-9 of diamonds can just call all in. Jack 9 of diamonds can just call all in. So they're really good combo draws. King Jack of diamonds, maybe that can just call all in. So they're really good combo draws, can just call all in. But hand like 7-8 of diamonds or 4-5 of diamonds, 3-4 of diamonds, those hands would be pretty sad to face a jam, which I think is going to happen at a lot higher than 0% frequency.
Mhm. Yeah, and they're not going to be getting the right price to call.
Sure. You're basically, they're just putting their equity at risk. So
Yeah.
it makes me like a little makes me want to remove the flush draw, the diamond hands from their range, at least
Yeah.
a little bit. Not all of
Yeah.
them, but I think they just don't bet pot here with all of their like diamond
Yeah.
hands.
And I think just to discount some of the diamond hands even more, I think some of the hands that you mentioned just three bet pre-flop pure. A hand like King Jack of Diamonds just three bets pre-flop pure. I
Sure.
think so. Like there's I think we're really just talking about like the non-Broadway, most of the non-Broadway ones. But yeah, we face pot here. Um, yeah, I think it's a good consideration that they that this size might start eliminating some of their strongest combo draws now.
It's like the
Uh,
middling, maybe not the strongest,
yeah,
but like
yeah,
the
yeah.
second
The,
tier combo draw type hands.
yeah,
I think so.
yeah.
I
The
mean,
flush draw plus gut shot type hands. Yeah,
the reason why I mention all of this is, in case the river is a diamond, then we kind of understand villain's range makeup a little bit better before we get there, so that we don't just freak out on a diamond and don't really have an idea of what we're going to do. And I think for the listener, it's really important to consider future possibilities and ask yourself, like, okay, like what is villain's range makeup here, and how does that affect my downstream decision? And so here I imagine that you're just going to call. All right, so you do call, and I think calling is good. So queen 10 6 deuce, queen 10 of diamonds, and the river is the 8 of diamonds. So it's a good thing that we spent a lot of turn talking about the diamond potential on the river here. And well, I guess they can't have the 8 9 of diamonds because the river is the 8 of diamonds.
Can't have 7 8 of diamonds.
We're the 7 8 of diamonds. So the final board is queen 10 8, 3 diamonds, and then a 6 and a deuce. So this backdoor flush draw completer does give villain some pairs with their gut shots. It does complete 7 9. I imagine that villain's gonna jam. It wouldn't be a very good bluff catching framework episode if villain just checked. Villain does in fact jam, so they jam 600 into 800, and Jon needs 30% equity. And now we're gonna bust out ye old Equilab.
Can we get there? Can we get to 30%?
Get our money's worth. It's $4 a month. All right, so everything's already input. The board, your hand. Only thing that's left is going to be, what range do we think they have?
Yeah. So what I would do here, if I was trying to study the spot in game and try to figure out whether I came to the right conclusion or not, I think I would just start out by inputting what I thought the entirety of villain's ranges in the spot and running our equity versus that range and trying to see if we can get to 30% plus so that we can make a break even call facing, a $600 river bet. So see, Brad's already gotten started.
Yeah, so I put in one combo of 10s, 6s and deuces. Those are the most obvious, the most obvious value combinations.
Let's give him 4 combos of 9-7.
All 4, huh?
Suited. Yeah. Let's start out with a.
So be generous that they make the backdoor straight. Jack of diamonds, 9 of diamonds.
Okay.
Maybe all 4 combos of Jack 9.
Yeah, maybe all of them. Yeah. Uh-oh. I feel like it's going to get hard to get 30 now.
Okay.
So now we got to give him some bricked gut shots.
Yep. So 4-5 suited.
3-4 suited.
3-4 suited. I think that like the pairs can probably still go for it. 7-8 suited and 8-9 suited.
Yeah, I agree. I think once you get to the river in this way and make an 8, you're not, it's hard to.
Oh, I did it. I did it.
Have...
maybe I can win now. I check raise versus big bet and bet pot on the turn and villain called. Maybe my 8 is the winner.
Probably not. Yep. Okay. So does this seem like a reasonable place to start? Can't think of too many hands that we might have missed out on.
Yeah, it seems fairly reasonable. Pretty generous. I think this is like kind of
close to a worst case scenario for us.
Yeah. Although we did give villain like all their pairs to turn into bluffs, so that's pretty generous on our side.
Yeah.
Let's just see where we're at. We need more than 30% right now, right?
Yep.
Wow. So We're at 41%. So we're already home.
Let's take out the pairs. Let's just assume that they chicken out on the river and they decide that an 8 might be good some of the time.
All right.
That's probably like that's also the first adjustment that I would make because I think that's the biggest assumption that we're making in this range analysis is that like okay they might still jam third pair on the river and maybe
Sure.
they do maybe they don't. So yeah, even if they don't, we're still in the clear.
Yep. And the 3-4 and the 4-5 suited both include, diamond diamond. So
Mhm.
they have flushes with those. They have all the 9-7s. They've got all the jack nines, one combo of 10s, sixes and deuces in full. So yeah, even if we take out, the generous ones, we're still able to call. They really need to. I don't know what they need to do because it's like essentially strategically what they would need to do is, check raise flop with more of the like backdoor nut flush draws, and then only barrel the turn when they turn a flush draw, which would give them more combos of value and fewer, but not inflate their bluff region. So I think that's most of what villain can do here to add more value without giving themselves more bluffs is actually quite difficult.
Yeah, yeah. It seems like a spot, upon looking at this equity calculation, that it seems like a spot where it'd be very easy for villain to overbluff, right?
I would think so. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what we're seeing right now is that like, wow, we can just like start removing even the more questionable bluffs in their range, and we still have enough equity to call, which means that, even someone just playing the spot very sort of standard in ABC is going to run into a situation where they're likely over bluffing, even if they don't mean to be.
Right. And if they show up with a hand that like we didn't put in Equilab, it's almost always going to be good for us and bad for them.
Right.
Which, yeah, you just basically can't fold on the river here with aces.
Yeah. Yep.
So I'm going to go on a limb and say that you can't fold. You're not going to fold.
Yeah, I didn't fold. I think this is, once you start, I think the good thing, the benefit, like you said about doing the work after you big the giveaway. A big part of doing the work, I think, is that like once you start just training in Equilab or whatever equity calculator you use a lot, these sort of over bluff spots almost become a little bit intuitive in game, where you're just like, it's hard if they just check raise all their gut shots on the flop for them to not be over bluffing by the time you get to the river. And I think that's like, ideally, like that's like sort of the intuition that all this Equilab work hopefully hones, right? Is that like you just get into a situation in game and you've just run so many equity calcs for similar situations or analogous situations that you get to the river and it's a it's a non-decision almost. You already know what's going on.
Yep. I'm a big believer in just doing this kind of, when you do it again and again and again, it can feel pretty arduous and taxing, but it does help sharpen your understanding of how these spots work and just the combinatorics of it. And combos matter, combinatorics matter. Like this is a game of math, and in order to figure out like whether or not you should bluff catch, you need to have a general idea of how many combos of value does villain have, and then how many combos of bluffs do I need to find so that I can win more than 30% of the time here on the river. And if you aren't doing that on a regular basis, then it's really difficult. You have no guiding light in which to base your decision on. You're just kind of like grabbing around in the dark. So yeah, this is a great hand, and let's see what went down. You called, and villain has the fourth tray of clubs, which was a hand that we gave them in our analysis. So didn't learn that this spot is juicier than it appears to be, but we did learn that villain does have the 4-3 suited, which is pretty nice.
Yeah.
And
I think the biggest takeaway from what we learned is that like it doesn't, even if it wasn't juicier than we thought it needed to be, we're still like way in the clear to call with our bluff catchers.
5% above the threshold.
Yeah. Right. And that's like, I don't know, that to me, that's like a really important, thing to know or take away from this hand, so that like, next time, again, like I said, next time I'm here, it's really easy to make these sorts of calls.
Perfect. Good stuff. We got another bluff catching scenario coming at you right after the break. Remember, watch the ad. I've been coerced into forcing you to watch the sweepstakes ad. Actually, if you don't want to watch it or sign up, great. But the people that do watch it, yeah, I think you've got a decent shot of pulling a prize. So stick around. We'll be back after the break. Man, talking's tough. Coach Brad, the founder of Chasing Poker Greatness, here with an announcement as we usher in the brand new year. The CPG marketing team has joined forces with a collection of poker rock stars to put together a $40,000 giveaway in poker training content and poker coaching. They probably don't want me to say this, but giveaways are not really my thing. So my belief is that human beings tend to value the things that they pay for a lot more than they do not, which is why this will almost certainly be the last giveaway that CPG ever does, and also why I've decided to include a prize that you simply can't buy on the open market, which is a 2-day, 8 total hour poker weekend workshop led by me. Including the workshop, CPG is going to be giving away courses, private coaching sessions, database analysis, and optimization sessions, and in total, there's going to be 100 prizes that are given away. Brand partners include PLO Mastermind, that's ran by the great Jay Nandez, MTT legend Alex Assassinado's Poker Head Rush, KL Cleaton's Range Trainer Pro, Zach Elwood's Reading Poker Tells, Dr. Trisha Cardner, and Intuitive Tables. For all the details on how to enter the New Year's resolution giveaway, head to chasingpokergreatness.com/New Year's. One more time, that's chasingpokergreatness.com/New Year's. And be sure that if you enter and win, you do the work. That's the thing that ultimately matters. All right, welcome back from the break. We have queued up for you 2 8s in the back half of today's show. John, you want to just dive directly into the action?
Yep. So in the cutoff, action folds to me. We're 5-handed. I open pocket 8s, get flatted by the button, flatted by the small blind. Looks like a pretty good game.
Yeah, it does. And then the big blind squeezes. So
ruins everything.
Yeah, you never know. It could just be making it more fun. I think some things to consider here. You opened minimum from the cutoff. The button called, the small blind, who appears to be a white belt, called, and then the big blind squeezed or squoze. What's the past tense of squeeze?
I think you got it right the first time.
I think it's squozed. One thing about this spot, I guess it doesn't really, it's not a gigantic factor because the small blind caller, who's the white belt, only has 350 behind, and the squeezer is making it 130. But I do think it's quite a small likelihood that the small blind back jams after flatting. So the squeeze is, pretty, I don't think the squeeze is going to be like substantially tighter than usual here in this exact spot, but just something to note. Nothing much you can do here other than flat. And
any thoughts about jamming 8s? I know that's like we're kind of getting out there pre-flop, but there's 20 big blinds or 19 big blinds. in the middle. All right, whatever.
Probably
I
not.
won't derail it. Okay.
I probably not. But
Yep.
I think it's just too potentially juicy of a spot with the button and the small blind left
Yeah,
packed.
yeah, I agree.
And the small blind and the button decide to fold, and so now the spot is what it is. Your heads up.
It's like,
Heads
wow,
up
we're at this
versus
great
blind.
table, and somehow I'm playing a heads up 3-bet pot versus the only reggy looking guy. Great.
Well done. You did it. Congratulations. So the flop is 9-3-3 with the 9 tray of spades. There's 300 in the middle. John's got 870 behind. I imagine Villain's going to be starting out. Actually, I think on a board like this, they could very easily have a checking range as well as a betting range. So I don't think betting is like a given here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think if we do bet, or if they do bet, again, I think it. I don't know exactly what size I
Probably
wouldn't be
big.
shocked to see, but yeah, I think a third is fine. I think big is fine. Big probably meaning something around the realm of like half pot to 2/3 is what I would expect to see. But then, like you said, I think checking is just fine as well. We have no idea exactly how this guy's deciding to structure a strategy. He starts out with a pretty big bet. Starts out with half pot.
By the way, when I say big, like half pot is my big.
Yeah.
In the 3-bet pot. So Villain does decide to bet big. So essentially, they're starting out essentially polarizing, right? They have overpairs and they have hands that are not overpairs and potentially hands that are like flush draws with overcards, right? Maybe some backdoor flush draws with overcards. Also going to be in there, ace 5 of clubs, ace 4 of clubs, some sort of like 3 straight with a backdoor nut flush draw could be a hand that merits a big bet. So that's kind of how I would think about the range starting on the flop.
Sure. Yep. I think that's reasonable. Can't do much with our eights. Definitely not eights with a spade, except call the half pot.
Can't fold and can't raise. So I guess you just have to call. Turn is the 6 of clubs. So puts up the potential backdoor flush draw that, as I mentioned on the flop, I do think is a portion of Villain's range. And man, what do I expect Villain to do here? I'm kind of in a tricky situation. Maybe check everything might not be the most unreasonable play.
That's what I expected. Given the SPR, there's 600 in the pot, got 721 behind. I think a check everything strat here would perform really, really well. There's not much I can do versus a range check with my bluff catching region other than check back and
play rivers.
Yeah, play rivers. Yeah, which is like not that exciting of a prospect for me. And they can just play this easy strategy of checking range on the turn and then jamming. Having a really, really clear cut value jamming range on the river, and then just match up a certain number of bluffs to balance that out. So I think that's a really easy strategy to execute. So wouldn't be surprised to see them check. That's what they do.
You check behind because that's pretty much what you got to do. Villain's range is polar still. So you check behind. Rivers, the tray of hearts. And now I pretty much expect Villain to only have one size when they do bet. And that size is, all you can eat, baby.
Yep. So 9-3-3-6-3 final board. We got eights.
Yep. 3 3s, a 9, a 6. Villain sticks it all in. Man, I'm so excited that I get to use my investment once again here on Tactical Tuesday.
I don't even think we need it.
Equilab. We're going to use it.
Need Equilab for this situation?
We're going to do it just to give another rep. I think we probably don't need it just because, but the first thing is what's Villain's value range? I think Villain's value range is aces, kings, queens, and jacks. That and nines, nines probably.
Yep.
So ace, king, king, queen, queen. Oh boy, queen.
I think you just do 9-9 plus.
Yeah, I think. I don't know. What about tens?
It's close, but let's just give it to him. Let's start out with the worst case scenario again.
All right, fine. 9-9 plus. and that's already 30 combos of value.
Yeah.
You're getting close to 2-1. You need to win 35% of the time in order to do this thing. Ignore this calc on the right here. That was from the previous hand. That's just still sitting up there. So you've got 8-8, 9-9. What are their bluffing hands?
I don't know exactly what hands they bluff, but the way I thought about this in game, and which is why the reason I thought that I didn't even need an equity calculator for this, is that he said that they have 30 combos of value. And for us to win about a third of the time, we need them to have about 15 combos of bluffs for us to make a break even call on the river. Ace Queen offsuit is already 12 combos. King Queen offsuit is already 12 combos.
I think one thing that I would disagree with a little bit is I don't know that they just blast with Ace King and Ace Queen.
Sure.
Those are two hands that I think probably don't go in their big bet range on the flop.
Okay.
At least not in full for sure. Maybe if they have some sort of like backdoor blocker or something like that. But for the sake of making this more difficult, let's leave out Ace King and Ace Queen kind of straight away. Let's give them, King Queen suited. King Queen suited.
Do we want to be like specific about the suits?
Let's be King of Spades, Queen of Spades, King of Clubs, Queen of Clubs, Queen of Spades, Jack of Spades, Queen of Clubs, Jack of Clubs, Jack of Spades, 10 of Spades, Jack of Clubs, 10 of Clubs. What do you say?
Then the King Tens and the Queen Tens.
King of Spades, 10 of Spades, King of Clubs, 10 of Clubs. All right.
And then Queen 10.
Queen 10 of Clubs, Queen 10 of Spades. And they probably will have some like nut flush draws too, I imagine. Ace of Spades, King of Spades, Ace of Spades, Queen of Spades, Ace of Spades, Jack of Spades, and let's just kind of leave it at that for now and just kind of see how this works out. You said we needed 15 bluff combos, and we just input 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So this shouldn't get us to 35% equity. It should be a little bit short if math is correct, and math is correct. We're at 28% right now, and this is kind of the doomsday scenario, I believe, for us.
I don't even think this is the dooms because we didn't even put in like Ace 10, right? We stopped at Ace Jack.
Sure.
Like we could put in some Ace 5 suited, some,
Yeah. Let's just remove a few combos of value. So I removed the 10s because I don't know. Maybe 10s just jams too. But just removing the 10s gets us pretty dang close. And then essentially the gravy aspect of this are hands that we didn't input at all. Some sort of hand that just bet the flop, that didn't have a backdoor flush draw, that didn't have a front door flush draw, maybe some offsuit combos like King Queen.
Throw in one King Queen offsuit. Let's see what that does to just 12 combos of offsuit Broadway that maybe they do, maybe they don't.
Oh, I mean it's over, right? Like we're at 50% equity if we just add in like one combo of like, or one full 12 combos of King Queen off. Like we're home, right? So essentially what would you make of this output? Now that we've kind of like looked at the logical hands here that make the most sense for the big betting range, and we're 2.5% short. So in your mind, it's still a slam dunk bluff catching opportunity. And so why is that, John?
Okay. Well, first thing that I would say is that, like, I don't think this is even, like I said, I think we're missing hands like Ace 10 suited and, maybe like Ace 5 of spades or something like that. So I think I don't even think that we are 2% short in the doomsday scenario. But like we said, with like King Queen offsuit getting thrown in there, if they're even just a handful of, not even handful, if there's even one hand category like King Queen off that gets thrown in there, it makes it from being like a close call to being just a complete slam dunk call where we have over 40% equity. And so I think this spot is going to work similarly or even more. It's an even more exaggerated version of the spot that we went over in hand number one, where it's even easier to overbluff this situation. I think it's going to depend a little bit on like their flop c betting strategy, because they're only going to have hands to pull from on the river that bet 50% on the flop. But as long as they're, even if they're only c betting their 2 overs plus backdoor flush draw or 2 overs plus front door flush draw type hands, we can see that like we're clearly getting a good enough price on the river to call. So I think if we were to be safe and assume that, there's some hands, maybe some like inappropriate hands in quotes, like to bet 50% on the flop with, then like we just can never even think about folding a bluff catcher on the river here, just given how many combinations of 2 overs they have.
Yeah, and I added in King Queen of Hearts here, as well as Ace 10 of Spades to the calc, and now we meet the threshold. We're at 35.7. So just two extra combos is really what moves the needle and swings the pendulum over towards being able to call. And as it relates to combo counting, right? Like, it's not an exact science, and a lot of times there's a lot of unknown information, and really the thing that you need to gauge is whether or not the unknown, like essentially the upside or downside of the unknown information, and what is more likely. And I think in this case, it's way more likely that there's upside based on unknown information, in that villain has combos of hands that we are not aware of, that they're placing into their flop big bet range and then jamming the river, right? Which makes it a pretty easy river call.
Yep.
All right, cool. So let's go to the result. You did call, and villain chose down the Queen 10 of Hearts, which is quite an appropriate way to end today's episode, because as I mentioned, Queen 10 of Hearts, not in our Equilab calculation. And if they have Queen 10 of Hearts here, maybe they have Jack 10 of Hearts too. Maybe they have King Queen of Hearts. Maybe they have King Jack of Hearts, King 10 of Hearts. If they have hearts, maybe they have diamonds, right? So then we add in all those combos of, double Broadway, diamond type hands to go along with the heart type hands. And, you can see, if we just go back to Equilab, like really, really quickly, and just add in like Jack of Diamonds, 10 of Diamonds, Queen of Diamonds, 10 of Diamonds, King of Diamonds, Queen of Diamonds,
King Jack of Diamonds,
Queen of Diamonds, Jack of Diamonds,
King of Diamonds,
Jack of Diamonds. We're at 42% equity now. Didn't even add in all the heart combos, like the one that they had: Queen of Hearts, 10 of Hearts, Queen of Hearts, Jack of Hearts, King of Hearts, Jack of Hearts. Only upside, only going up from here. Now we're at 46% equity, and add in King Queen off for the final curb stomp of potentially folding. And we have 56% equity if they have an offsuit hand in full. We didn't add in any of the busted nut flush draws that were like the ace deuce, ace four, ace five type busted nut flush draws. So yeah, just very, very easy for them to be out of whack in such a way that it makes calling pretty much slam dunk, and it's a lot more difficult for them to be fully balanced here and punish us for calling with eights by under bluffing the river.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The easiest way for that to happen, I think, would be that they're flop c betting, like we somehow pegged their flop c betting strategy incorrectly, and they end up having way fewer bluffs for some reason on the river than we thought they did. But clearly, when they show up with Queen 10 of Hearts, if anything, we pegged them incorrectly in the wrong direction, where we thought that they might be c betting much tighter than they actually are. So once we see something like this, kind of counter to the first hand, we actually learned something really, really big from the showdown, that we can definitely call river with all of our bluff catchers if they're showing up with these types of hands.
Awesome, man. Great episode. Way to go. Jon came up with this all on his own. Good work. your coaching skills are going through the roof on a daily basis now that you're doing, honestly, the majority of coaching with the CPG Wolves these days, and one-to-ones and leading group coaching. And yeah, you've taken to the role very, very well. And I'm really proud of your progression and your growth. And yeah, it's great. Good times.
Yeah, learn from the best.
Learn from the best. And
yeah, if you want to break down hands like this and get coaching like this in a more private environment, then definitely think about submitting an application to the CPG Wolf CFP, and we'll see you in there.
Yep, and go to wolftryouts.com, join the VIP email list. That's first notifications for when the doors open for tryouts. And that's all that's all I got for today's episode of Tactical Tuesday.
See you next week.
See you next week. Peace.
Thanks for listening to Chasing Poker Greatness. You can subscribe on Apple Podcasts or on your favorite podcast app. Go to chasingpokergreatness.com to get the newsletter, join the Greatness Village community, book a coaching session, or dive into the latest data-driven poker courses. Follow the show on Twitter at CPG Podcast. The CPG Wolves.
I'm more organized, I'm more productive, I eat better, I sleep better, I exercise consistently because I just live a more structured life due to this program.
Having this much poker brain power in one place is a recipe for great things.
My favorite aspect of being a wolf is the sense of community, having that network to bounce ideas off and learn from each other.
Poker is a brutal game. So yeah, if you're committed to poker, joining CPG Wolves will be the best decision that you can make.
The data doesn't lie. We know things that other people don't know. I like it that way. I hate that you're advertising. I hope nobody else ever joins. So yeah, I like it.
Go to wolftryouts.com to apply.